The time has come.
Salutations all, I'm Jockey, I'm here with my kitten Jaina, and the time has come to play The Legend of Zelda. For some reason, this is always my tradition as I play this game on Black Friday. But anyway, let's just get into this. So, The Legend of Zelda, it's an adventure NES game. I play a lot of these, actually, I've realized recently. In fact, there were more I was going to do, but I haven't done Final Fantasy and others. But anyway, this is just going to be a standard playthrough of Legend of Zelda I'm going to be explaining things along the way. I hope you don't mind that. But Legend of Zelda, of course, a very popular NES game. Involves you, going around, killing enemies, grabbing items, going into dungeons, and... Now, a lot of people, when they play this game, they'll try to get as much stuff as they possibly can before doing the first dungeon, or they might even do the dungeons out of order, because you can do that in this game, and that's part of the freedom this game offers you. Now, I've done that before, and I think that's okay, but the way the dungeons are designed, I personally don't really like doing them out of order, especially since, in a lot of cases, the dungeons... it's not necessarily the amount of damage the enemies do, but it's the enemies within the dungeons. Like, Dungeon 3 is completely open to us, but I might even consider doing Dungeon, like, 5 or something before that, just because it involves the Dark Nuts. Or I'm at least going to get the White Sword before going there. The other reason I don't want to get so much stuff before the first dungeon is because, well, I don't want to be running around the overworld in the first couple episodes. I want it to be at least a little engaging to start off the series. But anyway, here we are in Dungeon 1. And this dungeon, it's pretty simple. It's the shape of a hawk or a bird in general. But now the way that each dungeon works, they got a compass, they got a map, and they got an item or two items. Sometimes this dungeon is one of the ones that has two items. Now, the second item is usually just one you find along the way, or one you get from certain stipulations. But, there's always one item which is hidden in, like, a secret pathway under some stairs. But anyway, we're gonna be grabbing these keys and going through these doors. Now, I was mentioning earlier how I always play this game on Black Friday, and that's actually a tradition I kind of started accidentally. Now, I don't know why I did it at first. I might have been bored because, oh, it's a holiday, so I have, like, school off and stuff. But it's not like I'm actually doing anything. Like, I'm not gonna go out and buy anything. So, I might as well just play through the whole Legend of Zelda, and that's what I do every Black Friday. Only thing is, since this is YouTube and this is pre-recorded, it isn't actually Black Friday today. I'm gonna be holding on to that tradition and playing it on the Nintendo Switch Online service, but I'm also playing it now on the emulator for the Let's Play, so... And I just played it earlier because when I first got the online service, it's like, oh, Legend of Zelda, I should replay that, so it's 3 times I played it within, like, the last 2 months, or 3 times I'm going to have played it in the last couple months. But, I know most of this game. I know where a lot of the, early stuff is, and I know where some heart containers are, because, again, you can get a lot of the heart containers earlier on. Another reason I don't like getting heart containers earlier on is because of how the blade beam works in this game. You see, you might notice I'm shooting a sword out of my own sword somehow. But, the only reason I'm able to do that is because I'm at full health. But if I grab more hearts, then I have to refill more health in order to shoot the blade beam, which isn't bad inherently, but what makes it bad is that if you die, you respawn with just 3 hearts, which now, that's an automatic blade beam, that's fine. But if I get a heart, then that means respawning with 3 hearts, I'm gonna have to eventually work up to even get that blade beam back again. And it's the only reason the potion is even useful as an item, is getting your health back for the blade beam. Or I guess if you're in the middle of a difficult boss fight or a long dungeon or something. Actually, don't know these enemies' names, but these are they moblins? I'm not sure. These are the guys who shoot boomerangs out. And it's not these ones, but it's the next group of these guys we need to kill in order to get boomerangs. You may have noticed I just picked up a bomb from that enemy. That's actually... it's a drop that comes, like, at a certain amount. I don't remember exactly how many kills it is, or how many of a certain enemy you have to kill. I really don't remember, but this is something... it's a tool that speedrunners use to assure themselves, okay, I have to kill this enemy here and I have to kill this enemy here to make sure that I get a bomb at this point. Because bombs are incredibly useful. They can break through the walls, which can lead to shortcuts or secret passageways. But they can also damage enemies and not only do they break through walls in the dungeon, but they can also find secrets in the overworld, including heart containers that permanently increase my health. Now, I could have sworn that you can get an extra key in this dungeon, yet I'm completely out. Oh, right, there's one in the Wallmaster room, but does that room need a key to get through? I don't know. Yeah, and then killing this bunch gets you the boomerang, which I guess I'll equip that just so I don't accidentally waste any bombs. Even though we picked up the bow in this dungeon, which is this dungeon's technical item, we don't actually get to use it at all until we buy arrows. And yeah, it does look like we need to use a key here. This room is just full of these guys called Wallmasters who try to grab you and take you back to the beginning of the dungeon. This boss right here is a lot easier when you can shoot stuff back at him. As of now, we're going to have to run towards him and just kind of stab him a bunch, but looks like it worked. And luckily, after beating every dungeon, grabbing the Triforce piece here will refill our health all the way up. Now, I kind of skipped over the prologue story, but the story is that there are 2 Triforce pieces, this is Hyrule, and that the Princess Zelda has been captured by Ganon, and Ganon has the one piece of the Triforce called the Triforce of Power, and the other piece of the Triforce, which I believe is Wisdom. It's Wisdom or Courage, but I know the other one's left out, even though in most other Zelda games there's 3 pieces of the Triforce. But he broke the other piece of the Triforce into several pieces, and now that is scattered into several dungeons that the hero Link is going to have to go into and retrieve. He's actually not named Zelda. That's a common mistake by outsiders of the Zelda fandom. They often call the main character Zelda when truly his name is Link. Although in this game he doesn't technically have a name. He's never mentioned in dialogue. Or maybe he is at the last second, I don't know. I know Zelda talks to him at the end. Well, I guess we'll find out at the end of this playthrough. This is actually one of the heart containers here. So, this is one of the reasons this game is somewhat dated, is that if we specifically use a bomb here, then a hole will open up, we go on inside, and voila, we get to secret, which is either a potion or a heart container. The potion is only temporary, so I definitely don't recommend it. Plus, you can buy the potions after you do side quests, so there's really no reason to pick the potion at all. But yeah, I'm actually somewhat on track in terms of where Dungeon 2 is, at least I think. But yeah, the heart container permanently increases our health, but it doesn't change the amount of health we start out with when we die and respawn, unfortunately. I really wish it did. For some reason, I always have trouble finding Dungeon 2, even though it's the second dungeon. I was just mentioning how I know earlier game stuff well, but I can remember where Dungeon 3 is, and even Dungeon 4, and so on, but for some reason I have trouble remembering the Dungeon 2s over... Actually, this might not even be where Dungeon 2 is. See how confused I get with this place? It's because it's around a foresty area that's to the south, but there's 2 foresty areas to the south. There might even be 3, I don't know. It's a mess around here. And the proper map we get is that little gray square or gray rectangle in the corner there that just has a dot. Okay, this is where it is. It's up this ladder. That's our map. That's the best we're getting. We aren't getting told, oh, a little, it would have been somewhat generous if the map was, painted out, even if it didn't have specific landmarks on it, like dungeons, even if it just said, oh, this area is a forest area, but represented by, a tree or something. But it said, nope, it's just a box. Anyway, on to Dungeon 2. I just placed a bomb completely by accident. The boomerang, it's interesting. Oh, the clock. That stops all the enemies, essentially just giving you all the enemies, which is good because you also can potentially get drops from the enemies, like health or rupees, which are the currency. But the boomerang, it only kills some enemies, it kills the bats, or keys as they're called in the lore. But most enemies it just stuns, it doesn't actually kill them. This dungeon is the shape of a moon. Although, what's weird is that when these guys hit you with the boomerang, it's just like any attack from an enemy. It hurts you. Also, I should note, when you grab the clock, the enemies don't hurt you anymore. So, even though that boomerang clearly hit me, nothing happened. These snakes are actually called ropes, but what's interesting about their behavior is that as soon as they are level with you, either on the x-axis or the y-axis, is that they then dart towards you, so you have to just keep an eye on them. Oh, right, and this is also a room with an item. Oh, right. Okay, one thing I should note about the projectiles flying in from all over the place is that those... to avoid damaging game info saved, hold the reset button as you turn... Yup, that's NES stuff, alright. But, yeah, we got a heart at the end of the dungeon, so we actually are up 2 hearts. But, the projectiles in those cases, they can't be blocked with your shield, even though the rocks from the Octo Rocks and some other things can be blocked by your shield automatically, as long as you aren't doing anything with your sword or an item or something. Now, something I should note, even though I've played this game dozens of times on the Virtual Console, on both the Wii and the Wii U, on re-releases, and on all sorts of things, I've never actually owned the original NES copy, and something I'm curious about is that I do own the original NES copy of Final Fantasy, and one of the horrors I experienced with that game is that the save file just randomly got deleted. I don't know if I accidentally didn't hold reset or something, it was a while ago. But, and I'm not sure if that's still the case with Legend of Zelda or with any of the other Famicom games where you could save, like Fire Emblem or Metroid had a save system, for some reason only in the Famicom version. I don't know if that was the case in any of these other NES games that could save. I've only ever owned Final Fantasy. I've also owned Pokemon games on the GB, or on the Game Boy that had saving issues because of their battery. Oh wow, I died quick. Yeah, we're having some issues with these guys.